Rise up Atlanta, rise up Scotland, rise up world. The Scottish Falcons are back. This is episode 22 now for y'all. And as I say, we're thrilled to be here as we always are. A lot to get through tonight. As always, Will the Thrill Waddle, and I'm joined with my co-host by the most, the original Scottish Falcon. Des, how are you, my brother?
Yeah, good. The cold's kicking my arse a wee bit this week, so the cold, the flu, I don't know what it is, but it's that time of the year over here when everything's going about. So, and when you're in the business I'm in, you speak to a lot of random people, so you catch a lot of germs. So I'm a wee bit. I'm a wee bit bunged up.
Under the weather.
So, well, listen, in Scotland, it's always under the weather because it's always raining. So,
yeah, true. I suppose, and it's a great chance to teach you guys another Scottish word of the day, which would be lurgy. Lurgy, which is just another name for a cold or a flu bug. So if you're feeling a bit shitty, a bit under the weather, then you have the lurgy.
Absolutely.
So let's fly into this. So Clydeside, stateside, worldwide. As I say, we always like to show love back. Flagship show of the AFN International, as you all probably know by now. And as I say, the frequent flyers aren't just the guys that we get on the show with us. It's also yourselves down in the chat, because, as I say, when me and Des got on here, we were thrilled to already see some of you sharing the love. So shout out to Floyd, rise up lads. And then we've got a big test this Monday, hell yeah. We're going to get into the Bills game in a lot of detail tonight, so you can look forward to that. We've got a few more comments, just trying to pull those up, sorry. Smooth seat, good to see you, my brother. As always, we're going to try to, as I say, keep it concise and keep the major hype party for Saturday night's show. But it's an exciting week. Two really good teams. As I say, we'll get into our squad in a little bit later on. But as I say, it's a pleasure to have you guys watching us as always. So yeah, hoping we get a win as always. But never gonna lie and say that Buffalo's a slouch, are we?
So I've just seen Floyd's just put up a message. So what I would say, Floyd, is, so I'm assuming he's putting up keep it Celtic, but
yeah, hard C.
That's just divided half of Scotland, Floyd, because in Scotland that's called, well, it is Celtic, but it's Celtic as well, which is one of the big Scottish football teams. So so we'll keep it Celtic, absolutely. And Tony Hall there as well. So he's got Good Evening Pete's with the red and black, which is and great timing as well, because this week we've got the red helmets, so the throwbacks.
Mm-hmm. And I can't wait. Those are probably my favourite helmets. Like, I love them. I love the throwbacks so much. As I say, like, one of my favourite things to do is to mess around in like Madden and things like that, with like creating unis and things like that. And there's just something so sick about those helmets with the gold striping, and so nice.
And the thing is, as well, as a record with that helmet as well has been really good. I think Evan Birchfield, who's one of the guys in the Falcoholics, he always talks about how I think we're like 6-1 or 7-2 when we wear the red helmets, which is great. I also seen a stat as well that since Dan Quinn, we're 7-1 on Monday Night Football, as in winning 7, losing 1. So
yeah, let's hope that continues. I mean, that's a real good sign. As I say, we've had the discussion before. Did we let Dan Quinn go too early? So let's hope that doesn't jinx us, eh?
Well, I would say after the Commanders game, I'm not sure whether we can. I mean,
well,
listen, he didn't have Jaden Daniels, so but yeah,
yeah.
Listen, the thing that upsets me is Raheem Morris still makes mistakes. There's Zach Robinson's come out the day and said that he'd messed up staying in the booth so long. You know, I mean, that should never have been his. And I know I go off on a tangent, but I've got the cold. I'm feeling crap. So let's go on a rant.
No, if you're down in the chat complaining, why indulge the man?
I mean, from my point of view, I always say that the Atlanta Falcons would be a great team if they just stopped making daft mistakes, daft, silly, small mistakes. And here's another one where that shouldn't have been his decision. He shouldn't have been. I mean, I've said before that Raheem Morris he came from the Rams. He came from a Super Bowl winning team. So were their offensive coordinator, were they up in the booth or were they down in the field? What worked? You know what I mean? He worked with Dan Quinn.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I can never ever remember seeing Kyle Shanahan ever sitting in a booth. You know what I mean? He's always in the field. He's always in the field. So
100%.
From my point of view, it should never have been his decision. It should have been Raheem should have said, listen, this ain't working for us. This is my coaching staff. This is where I want you to be. I want you on the sideline. I want you to be communicating with these players and telling them what you want to do. You know what I mean? Rather than leaving it to the
100%.
practice field. Because all he's doing is he's going from film and tape and then working out what he thinks they're going to do. But when he then watches their defense on the sideline, it's a case of, right, I can see that they're doing this, they're doing that. Let's change it. Let's move away from that. Now, he's doing that in the booth, and he can call that down from the booth. But what's better to actually say to Michael Penix Jr., do you know what? I'm seeing this. Are you seeing that? What are you seeing? And for Michael Penix to say, or if Michael Penix has to throw the ball down because the plays broke down, he can say, what did you see there? What did you see there? And for Michael Penix to feed that back. So it's done now. He's said that he's now going to be in the sideline. But again, for me, that's a decision that shouldn't have been in his hands. He's the offensive coordinator for a reason. He's not the head coach. So I would
100% agree with that. As I say, although it gives you a certain vantage point from up in the box, it's not a preference I would have. Speaking personally as to the way I would coach, I'd be down there with my guys. That's just the way that I think and the way that I gel. And as you say, being able to say directly, look, I'm here on the sideline, you're down in the field. If you're seeing something that I'm not, come back and tell me, we can work this out together. And I feel like that's something that we can do maybe moving forward. And I don't get to say this too often, but shout out Bucks. Good to see you as always, bud.
Well, listen. So is this? I'm assuming So this boys I got to say they're looking impressive. I mean, Atlanta Falcons are really going to have to step their game up to take the division off them.
Fair play to you. You guys have been playing some hella good football. And as I say, as long as we're not playing you on the weekend, then or even if we are, come on in for the banter. But you're family too at this point. You've been on just about every show we've been on, so we appreciate you as always. And Miss Christie, another one of the heavy hitters, the Lady Birds. We're thrilled as always to have you in the building. I did see one more comment. 82 Monte Carlo. What's going on, my brother? Good to see you. As of right now, there are around 20 of you watching. So thank you all for joining us, and let's get into the nitty gritty, guys. So, it's 4 down and 13 to go. So, we had a wee graphic for that. So we're 2-2, and we're moving on to Bills week, Monday Night Football, and as you say, we've got something of a pedigree there. So hopefully we can keep that running. But first off, we're going to touch on some injuries and what's been going on there. But before we get into the ones that I had, Des, you had said about Darnell Mooney. He's still day-to-day at the moment.
Yeah. So as far as I know, he didn't practice today. So again, that is a concern. I know we spoke before the start of the season and we said that we thought the depth at wide receiver was really, really good. It was a good depth, but I don't think Ray McLeod has really stepped up.
No.
Obviously, they fired the wide receiver coach, so whatever was going on, they weren't happy with what they were seeing. But you then, to be honest, Carlos Washington, he stepped up, and he's played really well. And I think David Sykes? I think he had caught a few as well in some
David
games.
Sills, yeah.
David Sills, yeah. So
I think if I remember rightly, I had a look at this depth chart, and I'm pretty sure he's listed as a wide receiver 3 in contention. So, I mean, I think he's been playing some good football. He was one of the names that I was 100% sold on towards the end of pre-season, but I mean, he stepped up in some big moments. So fair play.
I think from my point of view, I'm less concerned because of Kyle Pitts. I mean, Kyle Pitts in the Commanders game, we started to see. I remember watching his college tape, and his college tape. It was just. It looked like a monster. It was like a man against boys when you watch some of the college tape on Kyle Pitts, and you seen that in the first season. He literally just started. He was dominating players. He was just literally pushing them off. And for the first, seen it a wee bit in a few games, but you really seen it in the Commanders game. He was very physical, and that's what we want to see from Kyle Pitts. I mean, I think his arm span is like. He's 6'6", and his arm span is. I mean, it's like 4, 5, 6 foot, 7 foot, something like that. It's ridiculous. Yep. So if he's got either a safety or a corner on him, you know what I mean? All Michael Penix Jr. needs to do is get it in the right position, which he has been doing. He's been throwing it high to him, and Kyle Pitts has gone up. And to be honest, he's effectively yards after contact has been really good as well, which and you see the physicality of Kyle Pitts. So it's going to be against the Bucks, against the Bills. It's going to be Kyle Pitts, and again back to Drake London. You know what I mean? So.
Well, I've seen something that Mad Mike had shared as well. I think as far as receiving yards for the season so far, I think Kyle Pitts is 9 or 10 among all tight ends in the league. So again, that's something that we, at this point, really should be expecting to see. But what I love, as you say, he's learning to control his body a lot more, and he's using that frame. It takes me back to that episode of Sports Science back in the day with Calvin Johnson. I mean, he's similar framed in terms of size, in terms of height. And you've seen the catch radius was something like 18 square foot. So if I throw that ball 18 feet in a circle on either side, he's catching that ball. Yeah. I can't say the same about your 5'10" safety. So yeah, like he's a singular like target. And if we can use him, his effect, like that's a 1,500 yard a year tight end, you know.
But the benefit of Darnell Mooney is Darnell Mooney's a faster player, so he can get down the lines quicker. So again, to be honest, you haven't seen a lot of the deep balls from Michael Penix Jr. last 4 games. You haven't really. You've seen it once or twice with Drake London, but Darnell Mooney and Ray McLeod to a similar. They're the faster players, so that's when effectively Michael Penix Jr. can literally just stand and batter it down the field. But we Darnell Mooney not being there, it kind of shuts down a few things, because effectively the corners and the safeties know that it's either going to be Kyle Pitts or Drake London. What I would say,
shout out to Ricky before you continue. Or you were just about to, so yeah, shout out Ricky. It's good to see you in the building as always, my man. But what I would say to both of you, the thing that worries me the most like, I know we've got the personnel to get it done, and we'll go into specifics about just how good this defense and this offense are a little later on. But I don't want us to be sluggish after the bye, especially because we've got an extra day going on to the Monday night game, and this is Buffalo. This isn't like New England we're playing. It's not Miami. If we don't turn up and punch these guys in the mouth, they're gonna flatten us.
I mean, yeah. What I would say is, if we really the next two games, to be honest, I'll say again, the upside down world of the Atlanta Falcons. You know, I mean, when the offense is literally when the offense, I wouldn't say it. I'm trying to be nice. We're trying to not curse. You know what I mean? But when the offense lay an egg, you know what I mean, the defense are stepping up, and the defense have been phenomenal. And we're now at a point where we're starting just to see the offense kicking off, which is great. Yeah. But you look at the 2-2 record. Effectively, if you were a betting man and you had all the money in the world, and you could have put one bet on this week or this year for Atlanta Falcons are 2-2. What 2 games have they won, and what 2 games have they lost? I'm pretty sure your betting man would have said, yeah, there's a good chance they come out. Obviously, Tampa Bay were missing one of their offensive tackles. So, there was a lot of injuries from them. Yeah, so that's fine. So I'll put the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in as a win. And, the Panthers, we'll put the Panthers in as a win. We're going to struggle against the Vikings, which, fair game, you know what I mean? They were one of the best teams last year, and Commanders, who were in the NFC Championship game. So we do the opposite. Listen, there's nothing dishonourable than with losing to Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They're stepping up this year. They're doing really well. But when you lose to the Panthers, and I know Raheem Morris came out the day, I think yesterday, and said that it was like we can throw that in the bin. It was like a one-off. It happened, but that's the problem. It happened, and then you see effectively they won again last week, but the Panthers. I will say I'm still to be convinced that Bryce Young is the second coming of Peyton Manning, you know what I mean? Or whoever, you know what I mean? But we actually beat the Vikings, and we beat Commanders, which is phenomenal. Again, just last season we beat the Super Bowl winners and the Eagles. So
almost beat both the Super Bowl teams, because we gave the Chiefs a scare too.
Apart from we should have won that game, because I mean, in the city of Glasgow, if that corner had done that to Kyle Pitts in the centre of Glasgow, he's getting done with assault. You know what I mean? It was pass interference all day long.
100%.
But that gives you confidence, because let's be blunt here, right? The Falcons have to get away from. They need to go on a run where they start to dominate, or they don't start to dominate, but they start to win games. We're still at a point where it's bitty. We're playing all right, or we play really good in this game. Then we lay the egg in this game. Then it's all hands on deck. We're coming into the next game. We're confident. Then what's going to happen? We need to get away from this. Again, I'll go back to 2016. None of you seen what was going to happen in 2016 with the offense. It just happened. We didn't see this from 2015. And again, Zach Robinson has stuttered this year. Really stuttered, I would say. But we need to get away from this bitty games where we're playing all right, but we just need to be consistent and put it all together. And the best
100%. And I've got and it puts us in a very interesting position. Shout out to the first lady herself. Rise up, Maggie. But yeah, it does put us in an interesting position, Des, because as you say, we need to start winning games. And I feel like outside of the divisionals, the next two games against Buffalo and against San Fran are going to pretty much define the season. If we can come back and we can end up 4-2 and take some more big scalps to boot, then I think that would be great, because I feel like we can take the extra sort of gravitas that comes from beating a Buffalo and a San Francisco back to back, and we can ride that out into the rest of the games. I feel like if we can come out of this 4-2, then there's no reason to doubt why we couldn't even make a decent run at the playoffs. Because I mean, if we can beat Buffalo, there's no reason why we should be worried about Tampa Bay. They're a good football team, but I mean, we can beat them. I think we've got all the tools to beat them.
But what I would say is, I'm going to kick off. When you look at the schedule now, it looks a lot harder than we thought it was going to be, because after the San Francisco 49ers are doing well. Buffalo Bills are just one of the best teams in the NFL, probably the best team in the AFC just now. You've then got, after that, you've got the Miami Dolphins, which it's not looking good down there. But then you're into the Patriots and then the Colts, who are doing really well. So that's. I remember before the start of the season, everybody was saying that after that tough run of we've got the Minnesota Vikings, Panthers should be easy. Well, how did that work out? Then you've got the Commanders, then you've got the Bills, then you've got the 49ers, then you're into a wee bit easier. You've got the Miami Dolphins, you've got the Patriots, and you've got the Colts. So everybody's kind of painting that as, if we can effectively get out of the 5 games kind of unharmed, either 2-3 or 3-2 or whatever, then it's all easy from there on. But it's looking different. So I know at the start of the season that Atlanta Falcons had an easy strength of schedule, but if you actually now look at that, I mean, my son actually, after Monday Night Football, my son actually sent something to me after the Jacksonville Jaguars Chiefs game. And his words were, what the hell is happening this year in the NFL? The Jags have beat the Chiefs. You know what I mean? It's unbelievable. So when you look at a strength of schedule, it's not always as easy as what it's going to be and what you think it's going to be.
It's a topsy league is this that we choose to follow, Des. And speaking of topsy-turvy, you know how X gets. And a special shout out, because this is only the second time now, but we are going live on X through Des's channel at Scottish Falcon. So if you're not into the YouTubes, but you are on the old Twitter and you do want to catch us, Thursdays and Saturdays at 8:30 GMT, 3:30 Eastern, or if you're on the West Coast like our boy Lamarcus, that would be 12:30. Because we have made that mistake before, so there have been scheduling conflicts. So, but as I say, there's only one time zone in the UK, so sometimes you do blur some lines for some folks.
yeah. When everybody in Atlanta is working out what they're going to sit down for their dinner, I've had my full day's work. I've come in, I've had a shower, and I've had something to eat. So it's nearly hitting 9 o'clock over here. So, and we're not going to even get into the time that this game goes out at.
No.
I must be the only Atlanta Falcons fan that Disney want Atlanta Falcons to be in prime time, because it means that it's a 4:30 or 5:30 to bed, to get up at 7 o'clock to then go to work. So what I would say is the international fans are tough. That is for sure.
And sometimes it gets to you. Sometimes we do feel the repercussions, because literally this morning Des went, "Are we all good for tonight's show, mate?" And I went, what do you mean the night show? It's Wednesday. And he went, do you want to check your calendar again? And I was like, shit, I better go in the computer then and do some prep. So yeah, that's the joys. When you're watching the UK, that's what you have to deal with.
I had a wee laugh on Sunday when you see on, obviously it starts here at the London game starts here, I think at 2:30, which is I think 9:30 in Atlanta. And if you're then going to the East Coast, you're 7:30. And I thought to myself, now the American fans can know what it feels like to have NFL games starting in ridiculously daft times, because we have to deal with it all the time. You know what I mean?
Revenge.
Give me a 1 p.m. Atlanta game on a Sunday every day of the week. Every day of the week. I'll take that every day. Let the Atlanta Falcons be the silent ninjas. You know what I mean? Nobody sees them coming, and then all of a sudden they're in the playoffs. So
that's it. I love flying under the radar. Because as I say, the most painful shots are the ones you don't see coming. So I don't mind.
Absolutely.
a little. If we have to claw our way cloak and dagger to a Super Bowl, I do not care. As long as we get that Lombardi, I'll be happy.
Listen, what I would say is that, and I guarantee there's people in that's watching the show the night, and you see all these people creating all these videos with this new AI, all these new AI tools, right? The only thing I've ever done with AI is effectively go, show me Michael Penix Jr. holding up the Lombardi trophy 1,000 times over. You know what I mean? Do it from a different angle. Do it where he's wearing a white do-rag, he's wearing a red do-rag, he's wearing a black do-rag. You know what I mean? That literally my AI is all about the Atlanta Falcons. So and winning the Lombardi trophy.
Yeah, so if the Secret Service do choose to hack Desi's computer, you won't find any government secrets, but you will find a man who is deeply in love with his QB, and you've got to love that, because I'm right there with you, my man.
Romance.
That's it. Check us out, Des. We've got a first-time listener.
Brilliant.
Hey, Kel, great to have you with us. As I say, we are thrilled that we've been so well embraced in the States, because, as I say, you do get that sort of thought of the guys over there are going to be like, what do these guys know? But like the amount of love and support that you guys have shown so far for the first 22 episodes now has been insane, and it keeps us coming back for more. It drives us into the ground sometimes, but we always keep stand up and keep grinding.
I think for one of the reasons why we started the show was I think the both of us were sick seeing all the Atlanta hate on X all the time about how even fans would literally say nasty things about the team, and again, I can see that Kel's a Hawks fan. I've not really been able to get into basketball yet, Kel, but I'm a big Atlanta Braves fan, so I watch Atlanta Braves. Don't talk about the last season. That's by the by. But I love everything about Atlanta, and what we wanted to do is we wanted to show that outside Atlanta, there is love for this team, for the Atlanta Falcons. And that was one of Maggie's and obviously your idea, Will, when you and Maggie came together. You decided that you wanted to kind of show that there was a lot of international fan base out there. Obviously, we've got Alexandros in Germany, which obviously was International Fan of the Year. And again, phenomenal what he's doing over in Germany. Fair play to him.
And we would and if you can hear us, Alexandros, and if you're listening to us, we would be thrilled and honoured to have you on the show for a chat sometime.
Absolutely.
Just throwing that out into the ether as well. So as we said at the start of the show, whether you're stateside, Clydeside, or worldwide, it's AFN International. So all we want to do is become If you will, this one might be a little cheesy for you, but the ASPN, something of that nature.
Yeah.
Just shows all day, shows every day. We just want to talk birds, and that's it.
Absolutely. If you wait to the end of the show, you'll see what our catchphrase is, and it's a good catchphrase. So, but yeah, what I would say is that Atlanta Falcons have to step up. They need to start. I'm sick of last year when they beat the Eagles, and then it was great 6-3, and then all hell broke loose and everything. We need to get to a point where we're consistently beating good teams. But the way Atlanta Falcons are, we can beat the better teams, but we end up losing to the worst teams. You know what I mean? And losing the games that we shouldn't lose. So we need to change all that. At some point, we're going to come up against big teams in the NFC when we're hopefully getting to the playoffs. And again, that's where San Francisco 49ers come in. They're going to be one of the pretty sure they'll probably be a playoff team. And at some point, we might actually meet them. You know what I mean? So
let's be frank. We've already knocked off two teams that last year we would have considered locks for the NFC playoff in Minnesota and Washington.
Yeah.
So I mean, we can take San Fran, but the team that concerns me most in the NFC right now is Tampa, because they're looking damn good. And as I say, if we want to be the man, we need to beat the man, to paraphrase Ric Flair. So I don't think we should, like, as much as the team is stacked this year, there's players emerging and saying, "Look at me," all over the roster. But as I say, I don't think we can really consider playoffs until we go and beat Tampa. We need to split that series, or that's it for me.
Well, I mean, from my point of view, I look at last year. We beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the 2 games, and they still won the NFC South championship. So that's the issue. You know what I mean? It will make it easier if we beat Tampa, but forget Tampa now. Main issue we've got is the Buffalo Bills.
I mean, as you say, like, Tampa again is what, week 13, 14, so it's a minute away, and we've got a lot of business between then and now. So yeah, as I say, just it's not something I'm trying to make people like worry about or anything like that. It's just, it is something that's ticking away at the back of my head, because I've made no secret of the fact that I want to get to the stage where the South runs through Atlanta, where if you're drafted to Carolina, New Orleans, or Tampa coming out of college, you go, fuck, basically, because you know what you've got to come up against.
But again, this is where a lot of the Atlanta Falcons fans will call out Raheem Morris. You know what I mean? You look across, and you look to Florida, and you look at Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and you look at Todd Bowles, and he's a fantastic head coach. You know what I mean? And it seems to be that if they have a bad game, they just bounce back. And that's what we need to be. We need to be. What I would say is Raheem Morris there's still a wee bit of convincing for some of the Atlanta Falcons games on his time management, the way, as I said earlier about effectively Zach Robinson effectively deciding now that he wants to be in the sideline. Well, that shouldn't have been his call. That should have been took out of his hands. That's the head coach's decision. You're my staff. This is where I want you. So, but as I say, when you look at Tampa Bay Buccaneers, no matter who they put out, they've got massive injuries. No matter who they put out, they're set up well, and they run the offense, the defense the way it has to be done, and that comes down to Todd Bowles, because he's lost so many defense and offensive coordinators in the last couple of years. It all comes down to what he's saying to these coordinators and what he's saying to these players. And that's where Raheem has to step up. What I would say is, I see a wee bit of the toughness from Raheem. I can see when he came out with the Panthers game, when he was getting interviewed just right after the game, he looked spicy. He looked as if he was ready to riot, and he was ready to have a go at somebody and deal with somebody. And that's fine. But sometimes I just think too much of it is all about he wants to be one of the boys, he wants to be the pals kind of thing, and it's always good having a bit of enjoyment and everything. But at the end of the day, it needs to be effectively everything needs to be worked out correctly, how he wants it, and that's it. When we go to the game, what I would say is that the issue you've got with the Panthers game, the fact that effectively nobody's come out and said what happened with that game. Raheem Morris doesn't know what happened. Zach Robinson doesn't know what happened. You know what I mean? Well, that's what your job is. Your job is to analyse a game and work out what went wrong. But all Raheem's doing is he's put his hands up and says, we just need to effectively put that down as it was a bad day. Let's move on.
Well, heavy is the head that holds the crown, Des. So, I mean, at which point do the failings of the rest of the team reflect on the head coach?
But listen, we'll only know how important that Panthers loss will be at the end of the season. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's the issue. It looks like a bad loss, and it is a bad loss, but effectively, as I said earlier, the schedule looks a lot tougher than what we thought the schedule was going to be, with some of these teams that we thought were going to be probably in the top 10 in the draft. They're actually leading their division. You know what I mean? So I think, as I say, when you look across at Todd Bowles, Todd Bowles has got it all. He seems to have it all worked out, and they are flying this year, and it's going to. I know one of the NFL guys had actually Tampa Bay winning the division and Atlanta Falcons coming second, but also getting to the playoffs, which again,
I could see it.
Yeah, I'll take that. I mean, all we need to see is we need to see the playoffs. You know what I mean? We've got Michael Penix Jr. is effectively still a rookie. He's only played 7 games, so if he can get us to the playoffs, then I'm happy with that.
Yeah, and as I say, like when you only get certain windows to talk about your birds, and you get the floor, you do kind of fly off, and it is a little bit toxic, as Kel says. It can be a little bit, like, as I say, abusive at times. There have been tears, there have been fights, even in the community of creators, because as I say, if you know the home team with Blackberry, me and Blackberry have a running joke that it's familial tiffs, because we do like to spar, but as I say, it's all in love, because you know Falcon's going to Falcon.
Yeah.
But as I say, we wanted to take this opportunity to kind of tease you guys a little bit as well for Saturday, because what we are planning on doing for the future of the Scottish Falcons show, there is going to be a separate channel for the Scottish Falcons content. We will also continue our affiliation and our flagshipping of AFNI. So there will still be AFN shows headed by your boys, so no worries there. But we're just giving you guys more content. We're going to be going into some college football. I'm going to be maybe going into some hoops, some baseball days if you're into it. Maybe some pro wrestling, some MMA, just a little bit of whatever we fancy. As it pertains to sports. So if you want to hear it, then you know where to get us. We'll drop the socials at the end of the show. But we wanted to get on for a little hour tonight, just to kind of whet the appetite, remind the guys over on X that obviously we're live for you guys as well now. So yeah, as I say, it's been quite sort of freeform tonight. We've got a lot of stuff to cover on Saturday. But as I say, we've got our game correspondent on with us as well. So if you don't know Lamarcus by now, you'll get to meet him on Saturday. So don't miss that, because we're really going to get into the nuts and bolts of this game. We'll be, as I say, breaking down rosters, depth charts, any last minute injuries, all that good stuff before we crack skulls on Monday night. But one thing that I did want to cover tonight, because it is a big point coming into the game, Des, just how consistent this Falcons D has been. We're number one in 4 categories. So we're number one in yards allowed per game at 244, pass yards allowed per game at 135, first downs allowed per game at 14.5, and yards differential per game at plus 118.8. I've also had a look at the full breakdown of all the defensive measures, and we are not ranked in any statistic lower than 16th. So, I mean, you've got to like that, especially when you think that we were questioning whether it was the right call to start 4 rookies.
As I said in one of the shows before, the benefit we've got with Jeff Ulbrich is the fact that he tasted a wee bit of head coach at the Jets, and we're hoping that puts him off, because if the Falcons continue this defense the way it is, Jeff Ulbrich's going to be a head coach candidate at the end of this season. They're going to snap him up.
Oh, definitely. Like that heart, mind, fist. When I read that article, I went, like, that's not just like a hashtag. You can see from the mic'd up sessions, you can even see from his body language on the sideline that is what he is preaching to his guys. And I mean, even the young bodies that are coming in, they're getting good mentorship, as I say, in like guys like Leonard Floyd and Jesse Bates. When you're bringing these guys in positions to essentially play second fiddle, but it's not so much second fiddle as it is, no, you're gonna get reps, but at the same time, why not learn from somebody who's been doing this at a high level for such a long time? And that's what I love about this team, is the balance of the youth with the experience, and just there's going to be some boggers coming out in years to come. Even some of the guys that are not 100% polished now, give them a year or two in some cases, and I think maybe we could go there. I think, as like we've spoken as well about the draft days, and I think maybe the only 2 places where I would possibly think about getting another body would be another corner and maybe another offensive lineman.
Well,
So
depending how it goes, wide receiver, there's a chance.
Maybe so. Yeah.
Bear in mind, Darnell Mooney's only, when he first came to the Atlanta Falcons, he signed a 2-year contract. So
yeah,
as far, I don't know if there's anything in his contract that they can extend it for a year, but going on what he done last year, there'll be a lot of teams out there that I think, you know what, he's going to improve our team, so we'll show the money. You look at what happened with Russell Gage, and when he was at Atlanta Falcons and he get the big money, he was like our 3rd receiver, wide receiver 3.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Behind, was it Mohamed Sanu and Julio Jones?
Yep, that's right. But the thing that gets me is, I mean, I would be intrigued as to how much the tag would cost, because we could always franchise tag him for that extra year. But it depends how he's week to week goes, and if he could obviously, because at the same time there's a lot of guys that are needing paid. I know Caleb's restructured, so we've freed up some money there. Maybe that's why, because obviously if we're going to tag him and get some help through the draft, then. But again, look at the practice squad. We've got the Triple Crown winner sitting there, and Nick Nash. So I wouldn't be against elevating him, because he showed a couple of nice flashes during preseason too. So I mean, I'm not sure at this point. Really, I would give it another week or 2 to see how Darnell's feeling, I guess, and take it from there.
Yeah, I think the Falcons are taking with Kevin Nash. I was going to say Kevin Nash. Nick Nash. I think the Falcons are taking by Nick Nash, but they understand that he needs to learn. He needs to sit and learn before they can throw him into an NFL game. But yeah, as we were talking about Jeff Ulbrich, the thing I loved about Jeff Ulbrich was when they were drafting all these defensive players and he's banging on the wall So he's excited. So he's seen these players, and he's been saying, we need to go for them. We need to go for them. And again, I need to apologise to Jeff Ulbrich, because when we actually took him on, I was dead against it. I just felt as if we were getting back in time again. He had already been at Atlanta. I didn't see that there was going to be any improvement, but whatever has happened under who did Salah at the Jets, he's obviously improved quite substantially. And he's, I mean, I feel as if I'm in the twilight zone, because I mean, the Atlanta Falcons to be, in certain cases, number one in defense in the NFL. Matt Ryan's best defense ever was number 15. He had the best defense he ever seen was a 15th placed defense. That's the best he ever seen, and all the time he was there. And before that, obviously, I didn't watch the Falcons at that point before that, but I'm pretty sure somebody who's watching the show, who's an old timer, will tell you, but I can't ever remember the Atlanta Falcons ever being number one in defense in anything, ever.
Maybe 74 in sacks, but again, that's a minute ago. That the 74 Falcons were a beastly defensive line, or front seven, but at the same time, I wasn't born. I wasn't even yet a twinkle.
I was in nappies. I was born, but I was in nappies. You know what I mean? So, but it's phenomenal what has happened with the defense. And the thing that you have to say is that this is where effectively rookies. There's a lot of rookies in that, and again, rookies at main positions. It's okay for James Pierce Jr. to be one of the pass rushers because there's loads of them, and they can take turns. But when you're effectively Xavier Watts, and you're Billy Bowman Jr., you know what I mean? You're there. There's nobody next to you to help you. If you lay an egg, I keep on trying not to swear, and I know it's like 4 o'clock sometime in Atlanta. If you lay an egg in national TV, everybody sees it. But the players have been phenomenal, and again, you can only shout that out to Jeff Ulbrich, because I think the time that I was excited was when Jeff Ulbrich, literally like 5 minutes after these players are drafted, he's getting an interview telling the interviewee that effectively this is where we're going to be playing him. We're going to be playing him there. And you're thinking, you know what? This is the kind of coach that I want. I want my coach to know my weaknesses and my strengths, and to put me in a position where my strengths can make a difference. And that's what Jeff Ulbrich does.
Yeah, 100%. As I say, I was in the same boat as yourself. I wasn't completely sold when he came on board, but like yourself, I'll hold my hands up. I'm not. None of us are infallible, and I did not call it working as well as it has. But kudos to Coach Ulbrich, because he's nailed it pretty much so far. I mean, 2 losses are 2 losses, but that's not entirely his fault. But as I say, for such a young defense as well, that's only going to continue to gel, continue to make big plays, only ways up, in my opinion, as well.
I mean, this is his first year. This is effectively his first year. I know he's been at Atlanta before, but I think it was a linebackers coach. So this is his first year in Atlanta as the defensive coordinator, and this is the numbers he's putting up. And I said before, if I'm Atlanta Falcons, I'm taking Nate Ollie and I'm shadowing. I'm getting him to shadow Jeff Ulbrich, or effectively have somebody, whoever the assistant defensive coordinator is. I don't know who it is. I've got to be honest. My depth chart doesn't go that far. but we need to be shadowing Jeff Ulbrich, because there's a good chance that he's going to be one of the main guys for head coach positions at the end of the year. And I'm only hoping that effectively all the garbage that happened in New York will put him off from taking a head coach position, and he maybe stays with us for another year and grow the team again for another year. But we need to be need to be in a position where we have a replacement sitting there, and we don't do what we decided to do when Shanahan went and go to a college guy and bring in a college guy that had never worked for the Atlanta Falcons ever. When we had Mike McDaniels, what do you call him? Green Bay Packers.
Matt LaFleur.
Matt LaFleur.
No, not Matt. Yep.
Mike LaFleur was there as well. When you actually see the and I know hindsight's an amazing thing, but that was the beginning of the end for the Atlanta Falcons. And to be honest, Steve Sarkisian wasn't a bad pick. He just wasn't Shanahan.
Yeah. I mean, those are big boots to fill, and with all due respect to Coach Sark, I mean, I don't think he was fully adjusted to the jump out of college and back into the pro game. To be 100% honest, but no, he was by no means the man for the job.
Aye. So we need to get away from that. If Jeff Ulbrich continues doing with this defense what he's doing, he's going to be a head coach candidate, and he will at some point he'll want to be a head coach. That's understandable, but we need to have people in place that effectively are learning from this guy and stepping up and taking over the position, and nothing changes. That's where we need to be.
100%.
There's loads of teams do it. Tampa Bay Buccaneers do it. You know what I mean? They're literally I think the fourth offensive coordinator in 4 years. You know what I mean? Their offense is still dominating teams. So they're able to do it. We need to be able to do it as well.
Yeah. And becoming a team that knows what it can do systematically. I mean, look at San Fran, who we play week after this. Brock Purdy's not a generational quarterback by any means. He's just a fairly average to above average quarterback in a system that's built for him to excel.
But that's down to Kyle Shanahan. Kyle Shanahan can make a bad quarterback good, a good quarterback great, and a great quarterback an MVP. The only issue is the only great quarterback he's ever really had was Matt Ryan, and literally that was the MVP season. You know what I mean? At some point, if he gets his hands on, I mean, Brock Purdy he's a good game manager. He's a good quarterback, and he works well in the Shanahan system.
Yeah.
But that is the benefit, you know what I mean? I think, is it Mac Jones that's been there? Is it who's Mac Jones again? Mac, I mean, it's like the seasonal comebacks, you know what I mean? Mac Jones is effectively, I mean, it looks a decent quarterback. You know what I mean?
He's kind of revived it. I thought that was way on the downhill now. But
the other thing as well is he's a good team player as well. He got asked about, obviously, Brock Purdy and him competing with Brock Purdy, and he said, "Listen, I was brought in as a backup. I'm the backup. That's it. When Brock, I'm here just trying to win a couple of games so that when Brock comes back, we're in a good position." Well played, son. What I would say is Mac Jones historically looked quite childish, quite immature, and I think that's changed now. And again, that's how I'm excited for Michael Penix Jr. You know what I mean? Michael Penix Jr. has only played 7 games. You know what I mean? Mac Jones, who was a first-round pick, has literally had to go 3 or 4 seasons a effectively journeyman jumping from team to team before somebody sees how to play him correctly. Whereas we've got Michael Penix Jr. and we know what to do. We know how to play him correctly. You know what I mean? And he knows how to play this game. So you imagine what Michael Penix Jr. is going to be like after 2 seasons or 3 seasons or 4 seasons. He learning all that.
I'm here for it, bro. But as I say, like the one thing that I would say specifically about Michael Penix is you add into this the fact that we have by yards per game with 362.8, the number 7 ranked offense in the league. I'm not going to give any kudos to who number 1 is. My mum will tell you, but I ain't going to say it. But can we score enough points to beat the Bills from an offensive standpoint? I think that we can, but again, we need to start early. Wouldn't you agree? That's the main thing, is we need to come first quarter right out the gate.
Yeah, I mean, I know we're number 1 in passing defense, and that's going to be tested against the Bills. No doubt. I mean, it's Josh Allen. I mean, if there's anybody that you need to step up against in passing defense, it's Josh Allen. The other thing as well is something has to give. In each of the 4 games that the Falcons have played, none of their opponents have got 300 yards in complete offense. And in every game with the Bills, they've had every game where they're 300 or more in complete offense. So something's going to go. But
I mean, that's like something that's like a Madden tagline made to happen. But I mean, as I say, it's going to take some work. It's not just Josh Allen. I mean, there's James Cook in the backfield. So Buffalo are no slouches. So all we're going to say, and we're going to give you straight and real, be ready for a dogfight. That's all we're saying. It's going to be a war.
What I would say is, if AJ Terrell's back, then I'm putting my secondary up against anybody. And I think that will be the winner or loser, whoever has the most turnovers. What I would say is, it really depends how Zach Robinson wants to play this game. Will he allow Michael Penix Jr. to do what he has to do and put the ball up there, or does he continue to use the running game, which again is going to work well. The one thing we know about Josh Allen is he's not scared to show the ball.
No.
But you look at who we've got in the secondary. We've got Mike Hughes now. What I would say is, this completely went over my head. Now, I spotted a tweet a few days ago, and I worked out that Mike Hughes was drafted 2 positions earlier than Lamar Jackson in the 2018 draft.
Wow.
Mike Hughes was number 30 in the 2018 draft.
Wow.
That went right over my head. I could not believe that. So we've got Mike Hughes, which again, most of the time Mike Hughes is stepping up, which is great. You've got AJ Terrell back, hopefully. You've then got Xavier Watts, Jesse Bates the third, and Billy Bowman Jr. You know what I mean? That's
now tell me if we'll miss that first round pick that we gave up next year. I don't think we will.
Yeah.
Given the depth of some of these classes, and knowing that we don't need too much to get over the hump, like, I'm not going to miss a first round pick. It would be nice to have, but I don't miss it.
There's only I mean, effectively twice that's happened. The fallout of the Michael Penix Jr. and again, probably 90% of the people who are watching this will probably agree. We were all dumbstruck. We just didn't see it happening. But I remember when they drafted him, and Terry Fontenot, and to be honest, it was Raheem that came out and said Terry Fontenot looked like a man that had been told that his horse had died. I mean, he knew that he was going to get so much grief for this. And Raheem Morris was there at the first interview, and he backed him, and he said, "This is what we believe." And then Terry Fontenot came out and said, "We don't believe that we're going to be this and at this position again in the future." Now, you look at how, apart from Cam Ward, really the quarterbacks for the last draft weren't great. And to be honest, we wouldn't have been in the position to grab a good quarterback. So that was correct. But the fallout from the James Pierce Jr. Move up, is looking as bad as the Michael Penix Jr. fallout. You know what I mean?
And that's the thing, like, it's not, like, we should be used to it by now. It's not the first time the Falcons have moved up. We moved up to get Julio, we double dipped and moved up to get Lindstrom and McGarry. So this is something that the Falcons do, but name me one miss down that list, because I can't.
Listen, it's happened historically. We've discussed this before. Bijan Robinson gets. I mean, literally, Kyle Pitts gets drafted at number 4. He was drafted as a wide receiver. Nobody's telling me anything else. He was drafted as a wide receiver.
Yeah, we didn't take a tight end. We took a unicorn. Whole different thing.
Uproar. We've took the earliest a tight end has ever been took in the modern draft, right? Fallout from that. Then we took Bijan Robinson at number 8. Nobody takes a running back as early in the draft. You know what I mean? Mel Kiper came out and said it. Nobody takes, in the modern draft, nobody takes a running back at number 8. So there was fallout from that.
I think there was a kid that went just this year by the name of Ashton Jeanty that would tell you that a running back is quite if he's good enough, will go at 8.
No fallout. He went at number 5. Everybody, I remember watching it. Great pick for the Raiders. Fantastic. Blah, blah, blah. No fallout, right? We signed Jesse Bates III. We overpaid. The safety position is not as important now in the NFL. We overpaid. You know what I mean? Garbage. This is what we have to deal with all the time. And
they just can't let us have nice things, bro. That's what it is. They don't like us being happy in Atlanta. They just want to cast a cloud over everything.
Listen, it doesn't happen very often, mate. You know what I mean? They might as well just allow us to have our time now and again. You know what I mean?
Yeah. For now, the sun is shining and the weather is sweet. So let us kick back and fucking enjoy it a little bit. But what we'll do just in the last little while before we do close out, we would remind you, especially given the numbers, to join the Kilted Revolution. For more info, show times, everything like that. If you want to suggest topics, if you want to come on board and have a chat with us on the panel, and maybe become a frequent flyer for AFNI, then, as I say, we're always looking for creative and talented Falcons fans to join the family. And as I say, it's 74 people watching live right now. So that has smashed every record that we have had. And not only that, but it has smashed every expectation I ever set for this show. So, I mean, all we can say is if you've enjoyed spending this hour with us, wait till you see what we can do with 2 or 2.5 on Saturday. And as I say, come in and meet the rest of the crew as well. But as there are so many of you, it'd be a great chance to drop this. And I like to create my own little visuals for these things. So does anybody have any questions? If it will come up with this delay? You know the one, Des. If it's not coming up yet.
What's that, man?
Yeah, if anyone's get the Q&A one towards the end. So yeah, as I say, we'll take 5-10 minutes. If any of you folks have got any questions regarding the Falcons, the game coming up at the weekend, life as a British fan, or anything in between, drop it down in the comments and we'll get our best to get around them all before we close this thing out.
what I would say is now, because there's so many people on the show, maybe it's a time to share again how we get involved in the Atlanta Falcons. So,
Yeah, that's always a great story. I love talking about that, but I'll let you go first as you suggested it. So, I mean, you said that was around about 2008. You started becoming a fan, right?
yeah, so I went to Atlanta. So I went to Atlanta in 2008 for a property convention. I was an estate agent or real estate agent at the time. Fell in love with the city. And effectively from there on, I just continued to watch what the Atlanta Falcons were doing. And then it was then probably Tony Gonzalez that really got me involved. I just loved Tony Gonzalez. We signed Julio Jones. It was a good time to be a Falcons fan. And then I was hooked. And I always say in the desperate times, I just wish. I mean, the people in Atlanta were amazing. I mean, at one point, I remember getting dressed up in the kilt for a convention show, and it was party and everything. I had the kilt on, and did they not enjoy that? That was great, and
that is one thing we will promise all of you that are watching. And if you catch us on the flip side and watch us a little later on YouTube, on X, wherever you're watching, then be forewarned that if your boys are coming over to the A for a game, we are doing it. I mean, you see the tartan in the background. Des designed that, and we are thinking of getting kilts made and literally coming as the kilted birds we profess to be. We are going to come fully suited and booted, as it were, and woe betide the first guy that tries to call it a skirt.
As we say, the reason they call it a kilt is that's what happens to people that calls it a skirt. They get killed.
or you can go with my one, because balls as big as ours don't fit in pants.
Absolutely.
But as I say, like, thank you all so much again for making this. Like, we were tired. We were pretty down on ourselves. Like 20 minutes before start, we were like, can we be ready for this? But yeah, 75 of you joining us for the last hour and 10 minutes has been beyond an honour. As I say, we've missed a few things that we can get into on Saturday, but that just means that there's more to tease you with. So if you've enjoyed your boys' content, then by all means jump in on Saturday. In the meantime, if you want to join us on Saturday, then you know how to get us. We'll be on all the socials. You'll get myself. I'm on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, as I say, at Will the Thrill Waddle. It'll be WADDELL, or you'll find it under the WAD-L. So that's where you can get me. Des, you're only on X at Scottish Falcon, is that right?
Yeah, and I think most of the people that are viewing are actually watching it through the Scottish Falcon channel. So it's much appreciated.
I mean,
very
when
humble.
you said about pushing that, like, I knew, because I mean, one thing that was funny. I mean, when I spoke to Maggie and Mad Mike about putting this thing together, what I didn't know was that Mike had actually been aware of yourself and been chatting with you longer than he'd been chatting with me. So when we got together to put this thing together, it was almost as if we should have met years ago. So we're sorry we're late, but we're better late than never. And let's face it, year 60, Super Bowl 60, what better year? But we always love to, as I say, show the love and the appreciation for you guys for joining us. So same time on Saturday, so that will be 8:30 p.m. GMT. If you're watching stateside, that'll be 3:30 Eastern, 12:30 Phoenix on the West Coast. But yeah, as I say, it's going to be more of an AFN international party. So we'll have some guests on from the from the group, some of the frequent flyers as well. So it won't just be us bending your ear. So you can look forward to that. But in the meantime, Des promised you, as I say, our little hashtag for the show, and you all know it too. Pain is international, but so is passion. Once again, Thank you so much
Thanks,
for your
guys.
love and support, and enjoy the rest of your night.